So what is EFT? EFT is like acupuncture without the needles, and while we tap on those points that we also call acupuncture points, or these points that are actually a physical, connected with to a physical system that is called primovascular system, that is like a new physiological system that has been discovered in the recent years, but is really physical, and we tap on it while we express how we feel. And often that is negative because we want to get the negative out. And that's what EFT is. It's got certain points where we lightly tap on them and we express how we feel. And EFT has become, in the last decades, very popular because you can learn it by yourself. You can help your family with it. You can help your pets with it. But also you can use it as a maintenance for your emotional system, but also for your hormonal system, because emotions always bring up hormones, release hormones in our body. So it's actually an amazing tool to balance your hormonal system, balance cortisol and adrenaline. And that's why it is such an amazing tool, because it can help with so many things, such as phobia, fears, stress, depression, anxiety, physical symptoms, chronic pain, etc. The list goes on, because you can tap about anything and everything, and you always come out the other side after a tapping round or a session of half an hour, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. You always feel better because it calms down the system very quickly. I hope this is helpful. Do find out more about EFT and how you can use it in your own life. Just follow the links to more questions, how to use EFT and to apply it. So the tapping sequence is basically always the same. It's always the same recipe that we call in the EFT world the basic EFT recipe. You can use different points also that go around your hands, finger points and such, or points such as the liver point, and you can leave some out, but it's always the same sequence. It's just really the words, the feelings, the emotions, the sensations, the beliefs that change. And it's like peeling from the outside, and peeling like the onion. We peel one skin and one layer away after another. So I hope this was helpful, and it's the same process for every tapping session. Okay, so we do state the negative because it's, number one, it's the truth, and number two, if you imagine a vessel and you've got something that you want to clear out of that vessel, you want to clean it up, then you have to take out the negative. And that's why we get it out of our system, out of our body even, because our emotions, our chemistry inside, our hormones. And once we get it out, we sometimes, and often with EFT, we get out stuff that we've held on from the past, from our childhood, and then that is out of our system, and then we can find a way of being back in balance, being back in our homeostasis, as it's called. And that's why we do say the negative. I hope that was helpful. Just imagine you need to clear vessel, clear the house first before you can reinforce the positive, which we also use with EFT. But first we get the negative out of our system and out by expressing it. I hope that was helpful. The words that you have to say depend on how you feel. Some people, they can't really tune into their emotions, and if you're such a person, you would just state your thoughts and then eventually come to stating your emotions. You could also catch yourself saying something, a limiting belief, something like a limiting belief, or you could tap on physical sensations, such as a frog in my throat, or butterflies in my tummy, or that burning in my chest. Or you could just state other physical sensations or other physical symptoms. The bottom line is, you state what you feel, think, and the words don't really matter unless they are yours and they bring out what you need to say, the truth, and what needs to get out of your system. So that's it. So the reason why we use this setup statement is like it's opening a file on the computer. You can use that metaphor like you're stating what you feel, what you think, what you believe, or what you want to tap on. Sometimes and often you don't have to do this, but it really helps when we do the setup statement and we say, even though I feel like this, even though I believe, even though I think that, yeah, etc., etc., it brings it up and you can actually see and hear yourself saying what you actually feel, and it brings emotions and words together, because often we don't actually know how we feel because it's a bundle of emotions. The other part is, of course, that we actually accept, which is the opposite what we normally do. We don't accept how we feel or our negative emotions. That other part of the setup statement is, of course, the acceptance that we actually feel the way we feel. But we don't always have to do the setup statement. You can go straight into tapping on the top of the head and say how you feel, express it, especially if you seem very stressed or you feel very anxious and you know already how you feel. You just start without the setup statement and go through the sequence. Okay. So it really doesn't matter what side, what hand you use. Really start with your dominant hand, and then if you want to change things up, you can use your other hand, but it really doesn't matter. I do change sometimes from my right hand, which is my dominant hand, to the left hand, and I also change sides. What I always say, don't crisscross. So if you tap with your right hand, stay on the right hand side, and vice versa. And I would also say you can, and I use those 2 points, which is right and left, I use them both. And sometimes we do tap on both sides, but this is just sometimes when we feel like it. And so it's all a feeling thing and not a logical mind thing. We tap as many times as it feels right. We say 6 to 8 times, but the point is that you do not count. You just get used to tapping a few times and you don't count on those different points. So it doesn't really matter. Don't get into counting. You can just tap the way it feels. Sometimes we use slow tapping. Sometimes we go really fast through the tapping points. And it really depends, but you do not have to count, because that would get you away from actually feeling your emotions and you would get into your logical mind, which we want to avoid, because EFT is really about tuning into the body, tuning into the emotion. Okay. In the EFT world, we used to think that we tap on energy system, energy points such as acupuncture points without the needles, or points that shiatsu practitioners use or reflexology practitioners, but Korean researchers have actually found that the system that we tap on, these points in the body, are actually physiological points, and there is such a thing as the primovascular system. That is a physiological system that can be filled with things for researchers, and that can be seen, and it is basically really a physical system, and that we've thought is only an energy system, energy being not really seen or touched or, you know, proven, but with the primovascular system we know now it's physical. In the EFT world, or when we tap, we often tap on old memories or memories from the past and events from the past, and if we don't use EFT in a way that we tap on different aspects to an event or to what was happening, then sometimes we have to go back to these events or memories and tap on those different aspects. But generally we don't tap always on the same things over and over, because with EFT, and it is proven, once we tap on those different aspects, and sometimes we only have to tap on one, or on beliefs, etc., etc., then we don't have to go back. And that's why EFT is so thorough. Once it's out, it's out. So how long you have to tap on one issue depends, of course, how long have you had that issue, how long have you been living with it, and how big is the issue. It really depends if it something like food cravings or food addictions, to smoking addictions or other things, phobias. In comparison to other therapies, it is faster. For example, just talking therapy, you can reduce it to 6 to 7 sessions, in comparison to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapies, that often takes way longer, or twice as much, if not 3 times. And you can use it also for yourself. Like I say, always learn how to use EFT with yourself and your family. And then you will also clear in between sessions with your EFT practitioner or with myself. Then you can also help and reduce the time of the sessions. But generally, I would say between 3 to 5 sessions, depending on the issue. Will you be without emotions after you tapped your emotions down to a 0 intensity? No. Let's say you've got a vessel, and your body is a vessel and you're a vessel, and you tap all this negativity out, you can actually refill the vessel with positivity. What really actually happens when we tap is that when we release negative emotions and we clear our system, as in our body and our mind and our emotions, what is left is often positivity. But you can also focus on more positivity during the tapping sequence, during the tapping, and applying the tapping technique, and increase your positivity. But you will not lose the ability to feel emotions. All you're going to have through the tapping technique is you're going to have more choice of what to feel. Are there any side effects to EFT? Apart from feeling better and reducing cortisol and adrenaline in minutes, often, or in a session, there aren't any side effects. And there have been studies over thousands, and there aren't any adverse reactions to EFT. Sometimes when we tap and many people do, they yawn a lot. There are 50,000 different studies that have been done on yawning, and it basically comes down to it resets the brain. And so when we yawn, we are actually, it's a sign of shifting things, of releasing things. And it's then just important that after a tapping session that we rest a little bit and we give our system to recalibrate, so to speak, some rest. And that's why we yawn, because it's sort of a healing and a release and a reset. But there aren't any side effects other than positive side effects. Can you also say positive things instead of the negative? Like I always say, first clear the waters, clear your vessel first, clean the house out, and then you will start the positive tapping. Something like, I am calm now, I'm letting go now, I'm ready to change things now. Something like this, or you could use it to reaffirm affirmation, making sure that you 100% believe in those affirmations and there isn't any friction or something underneath that you block when you say affirmations, but you can actually start new neural nets and new neural connections in your brain. Like with anything that we start, a new habit, you can actually reaffirm it with tapping and state the positive. So it's a very, very good tool to also start new habits and reaffirm new habits as well. So let's say you started tapping, you used EFT and you really have successes, and you want to introduce it to your family or to a friend or other people. How do you explain what tapping is, or emotion freedom technique? You could say it's psychological acupuncture without the needles, or you could say it's a stress reduction technique that you've learned that works really fast and really effective and it stays. And that's how you could describe EFT or tapping to someone who is interested to learn this as well. Can we tap on other people? There's a thing in the EFT world that is known as boring benefits. In groups, for example, if the demonstrator, the teacher, the trainer taps with a person for demonstration purposes and the group taps along, then the many people in groups, tapping groups, have reported they have had some benefits in a way that they felt calmer after the tapping session, even though it wasn't their own issue. You may feel that when you tap along with a tap along video, you tap on somebody else's issue or with somebody else's words, you still have a benefit, such as feeling calmer or feeling more things resolved within yourself. It is because tapping really works, because as soon as we start tapping on those different points, it calms our system, and it often helps in groups. If you've got, for example, someone who has an issue but they don't feel comfortable talking about tapping on themselves, you could talk to them and tap. While they're talking, you'd have the benefits and they have the benefits too. Does EFT last? Yes, it does. If you are new to EFT, I would recommend, and you wanted to continue tapping, I would recommend getting yourself a journal or notebook where you can write down all those things while you tap. And on your tapping journey, you can always go back. Researchers have shown that EFT lasts, especially when we get into specifics, as in specific events, specific memories, with specific aspects, etc., etc. But if you want to do your own research, just get a notebook, start your tapping journey, however long it is, and you can go back as in like a week later, and he can go back the week before and can see, wow, this is really kind of not bothering me anymore. That really lasted. And he can go back a year then, or 2 years back, and you will see those things will not bother you anymore. And you can see that EFT indeed lasts.